everyone, it's Amir back again with a brand new interview for you guys. Today we are going to be talking to Monica Carson, the new director of Residence Life here at Cabrini University. How are you doing today, Monica?
I am doing wonderful.
That
It's
is
such a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. That is awesome. All right, we're going to get started. So, first question I have for you is, what are your top priorities being the new Cabrini University Residence Life director?
Yeah. Well, thank you for extending the invitation. It's a joy to be here today. Super fun set. Top priorities, I think usually when I attend or be on a new university campus is really getting to understand the campus culture, right? Getting to understand the narrative of the students that attend Cabrini.
Right.
Cabrini, from a residence life standpoint, is really getting to know the residential community. So since I have gotten here, I have done safety walks, community tours,
Oh, awesome.
eating in the dining hall, and those things. So that is like really understanding the Cabrini culture is priority of mine before diving into the nitty gritty of the role.
Right, right.
Some of the things that I'm looking forward to exploring is gender inclusive housing at Cabrini.
Yes.
Looking at potentially implementing a residential curriculum, meaning enhancing the programmatic measures from a community development standpoint, and then just really building out the resident assistant program. The resident assistants are ideally the first point of contact that students have with residence life, so just enhancing that from a recruitment standpoint, training standpoint, and so on. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, no, I love how you're getting so allocated into like the Cabrini community. That's really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been fun.
I guess the next question I have for you is, what are some of the challenges you see entering your role?
Challenges I see entering my role, I think currently a challenge is that Cabrini doesn't have a live-on residential requirement, right?
Yeah.
We have a residential program, but we don't have a requirement in place that require a specific number of live-on timing from students. Now, there are like positives and like downsides to that. So when I talk about exploring Cabrini culture, it also encompasses that as well. I want to understand why Cabrini doesn't have a residential curriculum. Is it because of students like socioeconomic status? Is it because of demographics or in terms of location to campus? Really trying to understand the why before then moving forward to like sell the story of why we need a live-on residential requirement and the possible positives that can bring to Cabrini. But that's a challenge in a sense, more of a opportunity, honestly, than a challenge in terms of, from an exploration standpoint. I think just getting acclimated to a new environment in itself can be a challenge in general. Trying to understand the language, the nomenclature, like what are the things that make Cabrini Cabrini. So it consists of me stepping outside of my comfort zone to be able to be present to understand the students and also the staff and faculty narrative. So when I talk about residential curriculum, we're also taking into consideration faculty involvement within the residence hall because learning doesn't just stop outside of the classroom, right? It has to continue into the residential spaces. So if we're looking to partner with faculty, being able to put residence life out there to faculty to give them the invitation to come into the residence halls to possibly do office hours. Can we collaborate on tutoring services to make sure that those services are being provided in-house for students in residence versus them having to exit out to go find those services elsewhere on campus after hours.
Yeah, I really think having more of those services in-house would only just benefit students because I know for me, like when I used to like live on campus, having those like tutoring services in-house would have benefited me more because like even though they tell you where tutoring is at, I still have no idea where it's at. And then on top of that, it's just like some students, I mean, I hate to say it, but some students just don't feel like walking all the way up there to go to tutoring, and then they have to come back to their dorm.
Especially after hours.
Yeah, so it would be better if it was like within the hall. So no, I really think that's extremely important.
Yeah, so those are some things we're looking to explore, right? And again, I'm very big on the why.
Yeah.
If we don't have it right now, why haven't we been able to provide it? If it's a resource thing, let's try to figure out out how we can navigate through that. If it's a staffing capacity thing, let's try to figure out how we can navigate through that. So truly trying to understand the why before seeking to implement some of these services would be conducive to the process, versus just coming on board and saying like, here, we're doing residential tutoring and I don't have the staffing, or the university don't have the resources to be able to implement it. So there's a lot of why exploration happening right now.
All right. So I think our next question is going to be, so what led you to choose to apply for this position at Cabrini?
Yeah. So I started my career not in higher ed. I started my career in the social service sector. After I graduated with my master's from Northeastern, I moved to Philadelphia and started working for nonprofit organizations.
Oh, okay.
I worked for organizations that did youth advocacy for individuals that had accessibility issues, those that were recovering from drug and alcohol addiction. Okay. So I became very well invested within the Philadelphia community. Most recently, I was working at Lehigh University as their Associate Director of Residence Life. So then when I made the decision to transition to the Philly area, I was looking for schools that had purpose beyond the academic component of things. I was looking for institutions that really was interested in the holistic development of students, and Cabrini stood out to me. So when I saw the job description, the first thing I did was went online to the website to then be able to look at the mission statement, the work that Cabrini has been doing. I do my Google search of what news article have popped up about Cabrini, and there are a lot of positive things, right? Including Cabrini recently being named DACA scholarship recipient institution, one of I think is the only in the state of Pennsylvania. So those are the things that attracted me to Cabrini. Coming on campus, meeting the student, the faculty, the staff, the sense of community was just consistent throughout my interview process. And I was like, you know what, it feels like home. It feels like a place that I can continue to grow my career. And I really became interested in working with the student population here at Cabrini in terms of the supportive measures that are in place, again, just that focus on that close-knit small community. And to be honest with you, given my own religious background, the faith-based institution, faith aspect really drew me to Cabrini as well. So that's what brought me here.
Was like Res Life something you were kind of having on the back burner of your mind, or was this just something like, let me just try something new?
Yeah, so Res Life was always in the back. Student affairs was always at the forefront of my career, in terms of I knew it was where I wanted to end up career-wise. When I started working in the social services sector, it became harder to like navigate away from that work. But then, as life will have it, one of the last company I worked for prior to transitioning to higher ed, I worked as a residential learning coordinator for youth in foster care. So I oversaw a program called SEAL, Supervised Independent Living. Youth traditionally age out of the foster care system at the age of 18. So SEAL extended that to 21. So basically I started to do residential programming for adolescents, which then I was like, oh wait, I think there's a gateway here to transition into higher education. Hence the transition into Res Life. And since then, I have been on the Res Life trajectory. But yeah, that's how I made my Res Life transition. It was still with a care center background, still social services, but then just leewayed into the residence life field.
Okay, all right, that's amazing. All right, I guess our next question is, what do you believe are the most important things to create a positive resident experience for the students?
Yeah, I utilize the umbrella term belonging. Everybody wants to feel belong. Everybody needs to feel belong. Everybody has to belong. And belonging for you could look very different than belonging for me, right? Depending on what those things, we look at it from like a Maslow hierarchy of needs perspective. Your needs could look a little different than what I might need. So when I think about it from a belonging standpoint, it's trying to understand the students that we're recruiting to Cabrini, the narrative that they're coming with,
Right.
and the need that they may have. So we think about it through the lens of accessibility. Do we have enough accessibility housing to assist students that need it? I think about it from a gender inclusive perspective. Do we have gender inclusive housing? How are we taking students who might be questioning or going through gender transition? Like, how does that factor into the community? Do they feel like they belong if the restroom that they're utilizing does not align with their current like gender, and so on from there, right? So like belonging is a big umbrella for me. So that's at the core of, first year students. Let's do this survey. Answer these questions. What do you need from this community? What did you have in your old community that might not be here that you would like to see present? And how can we assist in providing some of those opportunities? And I think it's really through like interfacing with students, whether it's through these type of opportunities or going door to door to say, hey, I'm Monica, or hey, my staff that are in the Res Life department doing the same, to say, I'm X, Y, and Z. I work in Res Life. How are you doing? How has your experience been?
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess our next question is, where were you? Oh well, I already asked you that. But what were some of your proudest accomplishments before you became a Res Life
person?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a great question. My background. So undergrad, I work as my undergraduate degree was in political science, public administration. I had the opportunity to be on to be a campaigner, like a grassroots campaigner for the Obama campaign. And we did a lot of grassroots work with that piece and putting it out. So my proudest moment I can think about post-Res Life was really being able to be on the grounds doing GOTV work, get out the vote campaign work, and getting folks to the poll in the community or county we were in. That led to one of the highest number of voter turnout in like the county history, and being able to say like, I grassroots, I went door to door, I knocked, we provided transportation, we did all of those things, was really one of the highlight of my pre-Res Life career. And yeah. All right. It's a great question though. I was forced to reflect.
All right. I guess we're gonna lead into my next question. What are some things you noticed when taking your role as director of Residence Life? Were there some like immediate things that you saw during your short time as of now?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is day 8 for me.
Okay.
So there are some things I have seen, right? And I think I have spoken to some of those things already. So like I spoke about the residency requirement. I spoke about the gender inclusive housing. Those are, like, to answer your question, those are some things that I have noticed that has me questioning in terms of why they don't exist right now, right? At Cabrini. Which again, there could be a narrative there as to why it doesn't exist. Or it could just be we haven't had the opportunity to explore that, and like that could be my purpose here to start exploring that. But I think that those are, outside of those two things, I really cannot think about anything else. From an administrative standpoint, I think we have to work on implementing structure in our day-to-day practices, right? So we're about to kick off RA recruitment, making sure that the information sessions have accessible timing for students who work and are off campus during the daytime and can't make it, making sure that the way in which we conduct interviews are conducive. So like being able to offer in-person interviews and also virtual sessions so that students are in a comfortable environment where they can articulate themselves, right? Rethinking the group process, how we go about doing the evaluation to create an equitable process for all students so that they have a fair chance at the opportunity. The RA role is one of the highest paid student leadership positions on campus. So we want to make sure that recruitment efforts are equitable to a point that all Cabrini students have access to that role, and there's nothing in place that are limiting them.
Yeah, I think gender inclusivity is definitely a topic that needs to be discussed within the residence life sector, only because like we get all kinds of students that come to Cabrini, and I feel like when you don't have that at least in the back burner of your mind when it comes to gender inclusivity, race, things like that, like if you don't have that in like the back burner of your mind, I feel like you kind of like ignore, or I guess Well, yeah, I guess you would like ignore those problems and not really focus on how that can improve a student's life here at Cabrini.
Understood. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. If you guys would like to check out more information on Res Life, you can follow them at cabrini.reslife on Instagram, and you can also check out their Residence Life section right on www.cabrini.edu. Okay, guys, I will see you guys later. Stay happy and stay healthy. Bye.